In the last few days of the trial, evidence has been coming up that make you feel that Melly really is a cold-blooded dude. Just yesterday, Melly had a breakdown in the courtroom when prosecution showed one insane evidence. We can't say for sure if Melly's gonna get the chair, but what we can say is that it's becoming less and less likely that he's ever gonna beat this case. Just before the week-long break, some crazy stuff went down in the YNW Melly trial that got everyone talking. It's all about this investigator who dropped a bombshell and pretty much nailed Melly in some serious trouble. So here's the deal. The state claims that Melly and Portland planned a drive-by shooting to cover up their friends' murders, Juvie and Sack Chaser. But during the trial, this detective came in and recreated the whole scene for the jury. And guess what? He concluded that the shots that killed them actually came from inside the car, not from outside. According to the detective, Juvie got shot in the head at a close range from the left side while facing forward. They even went into all the gritty details about the entrance wound and bullet angles and all that stuff. I gotta admit, it's pretty damn convincing. The jury's already seen the surveillance footage showing Melly chilling in the back left seat of the Jeep, with Juvie in the front and Sack Chaser in the back right seat. The medical examiners confirmed that both victims were shot in the head from the left side, so it's all starting to add up. But hold up, it's not all doom and gloom for Melly just yet. He's had a couple of small victories too. Turns out the prosecution messed up and didn't reveal a second forensics report, which is a pretty big no-no, so the evidence got left out of the trial. It's like a little victory for Melly. But hey, let's not forget, if he's found guilty, he's looking at a lifetime locked up without parole or perhaps even the death penalty. He's in a real tight spot for real. The YNW Melly murder case is back in full swing after a whole week off, and it looks like we're in for yet another month of this drama. Yeah, the juicy details just keep on coming. So there's this guy named Trevon Glass, who used to make beats for YNW Sack Chaser. He spilled the beans on what really went down at the studio on that fateful night. And get this, he made sure to mention that he wasn't high during the hearing, although he kind of wished he was.
You smoked before you came here today?
I did not.
I have nothing. Thank you.
I should have.
So this dude spills the beans and mentions that they had this epic 12-hour recording session booked at the studio. But let's be real here, they couldn't handle the whole 12 hours. They started getting tired and sleepy, and you know how it goes. And here's the kicker, they actually left the studio super late at night. Things were getting real crazy. Now let's talk about Melly, who you already know the story. He's been marked accused of shooting his childhood buddies, Sack Chaser and Juvie, as part of some drive-by cover-up. And get this, it all happened after they spent the night at a recording studio in Fort Lauderdale back in 2018. Those guys were tight, part of Melly's crew, the YNW gang. It's a wild ride, my friends. Glass, the producer, spilled the beans about what he saw in the studio's surveillance tapes. He witnessed Melly and another rapper, Fredo Bang, hopping into a Jeep Compass and a red Mitsubishi. The prosecutors really wanted Fredo to testify, but Fredo made it very crystal clear a while back that he ain't gonna show up and spill the beans. So after leaving the studio, Glass and his crew went to Melly's place and then ended up at Fredo's crib to mourn their fallen friends. Here's where things got interesting though. Glass noticed that Melly changed his clothes since the recording session earlier that night.
Was Melly wearing the same clothes or different clothes than when you saw him at the studio?
It was a new day. Nah, he wasn't.
Nah, he wasn't. You guys
Wasn't wearing the same clothes.
Okay. Do you recall what he was wearing?
Just had on some shorts.
But when they asked him about what went down at Fredo's place, Melly clammed up, claiming he was too lost in grief to talk. Now, let's dissect this testimony, shall we? It's pretty damn suspicious. I mean, why the hell would both defendants change their clothes and waste a good 40 minutes cruising around instead of heading straight to the hospital to check on their injured friends if they had nothing to do with the crime? That is not the behavior of innocent folks, let me tell you. It's like they're trying to cover up their tracks, hiding something. Something fishy is definitely going on here, and it's raising some serious eyebrows. So during the trial, there was a whole discussion about the phones and where they were located in relation to where the bullet casings were found. To shed some light on this, they brought this guy, Mark Moretti, a detective from Miramar, who was all over this case. The prosecution's still desperately trying to link Melly and the phone to the car where the alleged crime went down. Guess what? This time they've got some more dirt to throw on Melly. They're going all out to get the most accurate estimate possible regarding the location. But here's the thing, the method relies on phone tower records, and you know what that means, right? It's not exact science, so the defense might jump in and question the accuracy of that information, just like they did before. But wait, there's more. Bryson Paul, the guy who seems to have this inside scoop and first-hand info on this case, spilled some extra details on Twitter. This trial is getting Wild. Detective Moretti says the YNW Julie's cell phone was found in the back floorboard of the right passenger rear. The second tweet said, Detective Moretti said Sack Chaser's phone was 100 meters from where the shell casings were found. YNW Melly's phone was 400 meters from where the casings were found. They're also going on about something called CDR records, which stands for Call Detail Records. This expert dude was breaking it down and explaining what all those columns mean in those records. It's kind of crucial because the prosecutor was trying to show how that info is relevant to the case. Oh, and they brought up Fredo Bang. They were talking about him because he was in touch with Melly right before and after things went down with Juvie and Sack. See, there's this connection between Melly and Fredo Bang's house and phones. Melly actually went to his house on the morning of the murders, and guess what? Sack's producer, Glass, confirmed that too. Miramar, Florida, 33029. I'm on my way right now, blood. It's like all the puzzle pieces are coming together, you know? Prosecutor had more tricks up her sleeves. They brought up Western Union and a receipt with Melly's phone number and name on it. It was another way to hammer home the point that the phone in question was indeed Melly's and not someone else's. Then things got a bit confusing. The prosecutor and Detective Moretti started diving into various data points on the phone. And let's be real, if you're on the jury, it's hard to grasp the full context here. They mentioned all sorts of details that didn't quite seem directly related to the main point the prosecutor was trying to make, but here's where it gets interesting. They decided to bring up messages between Melly and Fredo Bang. They were talking about money and making plans for touring, and it's like they were shining a light on their financial dealings and future ventures. It wasn't just messages from Fredo that came into play. There was a whole lot of talk about message and phone numbers being exchanged between Melly and various people, including some pretty big names. The mission here was very crystal clear. Establish connections and motives. We also caught a glimpse of tension between Melly and his mom. Yeah, they had their fair share of disagreements, and Melly didn't hold back in expressing his frustration. Things got even more intense when threats were made by Juvie's sisters toward Melly's mom. Now, Melly's mom has got herself a bodyguard. But let me tell you, there's a lot more messages that really made you stop and think, did Melly actually do the unthinkable? Take a look at this one, for instance. It's about what Bortland says what Melly did. It's like a bombshell that hits you right in the gut. He did one of the realest in my life. Lawsuits been coming in too. The families of the victims ain't holding back one bit. They're coming at YNW Melly with wrongful death suits, and we got some juicy details on all that. Okay, so Juvie's mom, Leandra Phillips, is going all out. She's suing Melly and a bunch of other people for millions of bucks, claiming they're the responsible ones for her son and Sack's deaths. And not just that, she's saying they're making money off it too. She's fighting tooth and nail for justice. According to the lawsuit, Melly and his crew, including 100K Track and Bortland, aka Corton Henry, allegedly had some twisted plan to kill these dudes and boost their own fame and fortune off of it. They're even dragging Melly's mom and manager, Jamie King, into this mix, saying they helped cover it all up. They're throwing shade at the Free Melly hashtag and claiming that they're profiting from it. Some might think that's a stretch, more about supporting Melly than straight up profiting, right? But hey, we get it. Juvie's mom is grieving and she's going all in on Melly. The lawsuit also accuses them of lying to the cops and obstructing the investigation. They're naming Trevon Glass, Jacoby Mills, and others as defendants, saying they fed the police false info. Now, as you can imagine, Melly's defense team is denying everything. They're saying there's no evidence and they don't owe any duty to the plaintiffs. They're trying to create some distance from this whole mess. And get this, they're even arguing that Juvie was negligent and partly responsible for his own death. Talk about trying to shift the blame there. The case is heading to trial and the plaintiffs are demanding a jury to decide on the damages. If Melly ends up being found guilty in this criminal trial, could have an impact on the amount of money he's gonna have to pay out. But who knows? It's a pretty crazy situation and we'll just have to buckle up and see how it all unfolds. So it turns out that there's some serious beef going on among the rappers in the YNW crew, as the jurors found out on Wednesday. Melly seemed pretty pissed off because his fellow rappers were getting all the dough and recognition for his artistic contributions to their work. They showed some text messages in court on Tuesday that supposedly went back and forth between Melly and Sack Chaser. It was the first hint that jurors got that Melly and his eventual victims weren't all kissy-kissy. The defense lawyers argued that the messages weren't properly authenticated, but Judge John Murphy let the jurors hear about how Detective Mark Moretti and the Miramar police built the case and concluded that Melly was the one who murked YNW, Juvie, and Sack. And remember, during the opening statements, the defense lawyers emphasized that Demons had no reason to murder his friends. The jurors now have to decide if the text messages presented in court on Tuesday can be seen as motives for the killings. In one message from August of 2018, Melly apparently said, "Y'all acting like you're the bosses. My flow ain't worth it if I don't get credit and payment." The detective explained that Melly was demanding recognition and payment for his creative input. Sack replied, "I'll always repay you for everything you've done for me, every idea and all that." We'll always be brothers." In another message, Melly also asked him about the whereabouts of something he called "Phi," which Moretti suggests might have been code for a weapon. Williams responded that it was in a shoebox in his closet. Now, this conversation doesn't prove that Melly had a gun in his hand, especially not at the time of the murders. The defense hasn't cross-examined Moretti yet. Melly has denied being in the Jeep when the shooting happened. If he's found guilty, the prosecutor is going to ask the jury to go for the death penalty. But remember, the judge can only give the death penalty if at least 8 jurors agree to it. At one point in the conversation between Melly and his mom, Melly even had the nerve to call his mother the B word. In one message to Jamie King, Melly said, "Bitch, you gave me the cold shoulder because I couldn't find the blazer." To make things look even worse, he said that he's evil, that he's a monster who needs to be alone, and that everyone should go fuck themselves. That's not something you want to see if you're still rooting for Melly. The jury will not forget this one. These messages even made the defense call for a mistrial yet again. However, the judge was not having any of that.
Irrelevant, unrelated conversations between Mr. Demons and his mother, where he's calling her the B word and all sorts and manner of disrespect that is clearly off-putting to anyone. And under the pretext that they're trying to prove this phone belongs and is being used by Mr. Demons.
Melly's defense attorney wanted to say that the fact that Melly called his mom the B word is not going to sit right with those who have to decide his fate. And he's right, it will not. But the judge wasn't interested in dismissing this little piece of evidence either. All that he had to say was,
Motion denied.
Some were confused to see all these messages come up in the courtroom without the prosecutor explicitly tying them to something concrete that would incriminate Melly. But this one comment kind of tells you all you need to know. The texts were showing that there was serious drama going on behind the scenes between Melly, Sack Chaser, and Melly's mom. Guess what? It's not the end of the drama. YNW Melly is actually seen partying it up at a music video shoot on the same day his 2 buddies got brutally murdered, October 26, 2018. Detective Mark Moretti, the main investigator, confirmed that a video was filmed and posted on Facebook that very same day when YNW Juvie and YNW Sack Chaser were shot and killed. The person recording the video said Melly's still all hyped up, not giving a damn about what went down early in the morning. Comments online are in disbelief as he was able to pull off something like that. Sad part is young kids want to be like him. We live in a sick society. Another person wrote, "Seems really shady, beyond shady. I feel for the 2 families that lost their sons." The trial for rapper YNW Melly and his double murder case hit a roadblock and won't start again until Monday. The judge gave the jurors the lowdown on Wednesday, saying that one of the defense attorneys felt sick during lunch break and couldn't make it back to the courtroom. "There's nothing we can do about it," said Judge John Murphy, apologizing to the jurors for the hassle. "When you're sick, right? Who knows what else we'll find out next week." This was one big L for Melly, most definitely. But what y'all think about the recent developments, and do you think Melly's chances are tight? Let us know about it down in the comments section below. Thanks so much for watching to the very end. If you like this video, be sure to click that like button, comment, subscribe to our channel. And before you go, keep it RIZZLE.